bless everybody. I am just so proud. Lord, I'm calling on you to come and bless this show, bless my guests, and just bless us all the way. Thank you so much for waking us up this morning, oh Lord. I appreciate it so much. And I am sure that my guests do the same thing. This is Chief O. God bless you. We're here to do one thing, to talk about those issues and those problems that black people in the black community experiences either here in America or there in Africa. I cover both grounds because this is one globe and we got the same problems. Many people don't even expect that to be the truth, but we got the same problem. I broadcast on both continents, and I'm telling you, it is, oh my goodness, the similarity is unprecedented, unbelievable. But good morning. I hope you're enjoying this Thursday morning. Let's begin this project, or let's talk about it. But today's issues, today's topic, it's a critical topic that is hot, hot, and getting hotter. But before we jump into all that with my guests, my beautiful guests, my people, I want to ask you something. There's a little book I found called Black Family Chart, CHAT, and it asks the question: your niece is going to get her first driver's license. She's considering agreeing to becoming an organ donor. She asks for your thoughts. What would you say? You don't have to answer that, but keeping that in mind. Your niece wants to give up part of her body, but she wants to get your thoughts. I like to keep what I got. Now here's the second one. Your friend cannot use any ride sharing apps because he has too many negative ratings. When you decide to go out, he asks if he can ride with you. What would you say? Is it your friend? These kids, these young people today, they can write some things and ask some very serious questions. And this particular this particular book or chat, I really love it. Now, here's the third one. If you saw someone, here it comes. If you saw someone shoplifting in your favorite store, would you alert the store security? Does it have to be, what kind of someone person is that? Now, I said I'm going to do five. Here's the fourth one. Was you, a friend, or anyone in your family infected by COVID-19? Describe what happened. Now, that's not for us on this forum to debate. And here's the last one. Where's my last one? I thought I had a last one. One, two, three, four. Well, that four is good enough. Uh, by the way, do you give money to beggars? Just asking. This is a book, and the question is: do you give money to somebody who begs you for money? I mean, every time I come to the corner, I pull my dollar right out. That's me. So I don't know what you do, but the book is called Family Chart. You know, Black Family Chart. Uh, but here we go. God bless all of you for coming to this Let's Talk About It show. For the past 32 years, and I'm talking to black people, anything that is said here. Zelenka is on. Hello, Zelenka. How are you?
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning. Good to see you. I'm waiting to see Eartha Harris. You said she's coming on? Oh.
We're waiting on her now.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
there she is.
Hello. Good morning, Eartha. How are you? You can talk. Okay, something is wrong with your volume. We can't hear you.
See, technology is in the house. I'm here. I'm alive and ticking.
All right, welcome. Good morning. This is Chief O. And up in the right corner is an amazing human being, an amazing expert on many issues in life. He is He's a graduate and earner of a degree in, what do you call it? What would I call it? God, this man is so smart and so good. Let me see. Uh, you can earn
It
a
must be
degree.
priceless.
Even I'm telling you, when he starts speaking, you will find out that we are just peons. But this is Clarence Tiger Davis, one of the top-notch people of uh, Buffalo Soldiers in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
So,
I'm honored.
you know,
Buffalo Soldiers.
yes, ma'am.
Oh,
He is.
absolutely, absolutely.
He's a my brother Tiger Davis. I'd like you to meet Eartha Harris and Zelinka. Zelinka is a ground sweeper, another degree earner on urban movements. And I hear that Eartha is also another powerful person. Good morning, my sister.
Good morning. I know him. He may not know me, but I definitely know who he is.
Yeah,
I,
that's what happens. We icons don't know everybody that know them, but he's an
right, right.
icon, you know.
Yeah.
So we're so happy to have him with us this morning. What we're going to talk about, and I hope everybody is prepared for us, is HR 40. What's getting harder and harder and harder? An issue that is becoming a little bit more than what we're expecting. Not something that's going to be brought up and disappear. But it's been around for 32 years. And that bill called HR 40 that was developed and promoted and is being promoted by Representative Sheila Jackson from Houston. I called Texas. I called her office, and I'm not getting my luck uh, in actually talking to her, but I know her. When I was campaigning with Jesse Jackson for president, we went to her office and we sat down. And very nice lady, very astute black woman, strong-hearted, strong-minded, very straightforward. Don't take no nonsense from nobody. And so she came up with this reparation for black people. And the question is it realistic? I mean, we're talking about it now, but is it possible? Everybody else got their own. The Japanese are getting theirs. Those who were 9/11 are getting theirs, as Tiger Davis had mentioned before, and Zelenka also. Uh, not only the Indians got theirs, they got a whole land. They got a whole territorial area. And but since this is the 117th Congress, there's been a lot of Congress have gone, came in and gone. Just come on and get elected, and reparation just have never been their forte, or even a matter of interest to talk about. So, but now it's on the table, and it's hot. It's hot. So I hope that you guys can join me and the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparation in America. The whole symbol is Cobra.
Mm,
You don't want to mess
you
with
know,
Cobra. This is really
yeah.
cool. Uh, let's talk about it. That's what the show is about. Let's talk about it because there's so many things that nobody want to talk about. So
Right.
many issues everywhere. So I decided to create a broadcast that is called Let's Talk About It with Chief O. That's me, Chief O. Don't ask any questions. I ain't gonna give you the wrong answers. So, but it's Chief O. You can call me Chuck. You can call me a whole lot of stuff. You can call me Chuck too. It's all right. So that's what we're doing. Is going to be talking about reparation. We have to raise
You
our
know,
voices on this issue. And if we, at best, we try to be civil as possible. There's some people say civility mask unresolved uh, resentments and hatred. Everybody else got there, but we try to be civil as much as possible. Um, so, racism is also involved. So let me open the door because there's so much more to that I have that I would like to um, tell you about. Some of the HR bill and S bill, the Senate side of the House Republican, or I didn't, don't get that wrong. House Judiciary Committee. The House Judiciary Committee is the one that drafted the HR 40. And then, of course,
Mhm.
the Senate Judiciary drafted the Senate bill. It's almost the same thing, not very much. One by Sheila Jackson, and the other one is by Booker, Cory Booker. Um, I know him very well because I lived in New Jersey when he started making noise. Now, not everybody is in agreement. The Congressional Black Caucus are in not exactly standing in the same line. There are some you hear it, some Congress people, black congressmen and women that are in disagreement on what should be done on reparation. How should it be done? How should it be distributed?
Can
When
I ask
should
you?
it be decided? Not yet. I got you coming, Betty. Not yet. So this congressional caucus have supporters for reparation and opposition group for reparation. Our own Congressman Kwesi Fume, when I look at the list of all the people that are in support, I don't see his name. And that made me go and get one of those glasses so I can look a little closer, just in case somebody with a typo or something. But I've called his office. Again, he's moving around, so we can't really pin him down. And some of the people that he has working for him almost have absolutely no knowledge of what's going on. So let's open it up. Um, Being that ladies are now in the show, my brother Tiger, so we'll open it up on reparation. Reparation. 40 acres and a mule. We didn't get it. I think we ate all the mule. And I don't know if there's enough land to give everybody, all 14 million of us, acres of land. 40. So here we go. Zilika, good morning.
Good
I'll start with
morning.
you. Come on in.
Thanks for having me again this morning. This is such a hot topic, but after the passing of that bill, I wanted to further investigate how many organizations that are involved with determining how those reparations, um, first of all, what form is reparations going to take on? Okay,
Mhm.
because I think
Yes.
we need to look at that. And when you first started a show about reparations, me being in the financial industry for so many years, my only conclusion, okay, was that this need to be a monetary fund, just like when it came to the Holocaust and the Jewish community, there was a monetary fund set up through the World Bank and through another entity where
Yeah.
those individuals could apply. They could be screened to check their background in terms of the ancestry and whatnot. And then I even talked about um, using a trust fund and someone that would help to administer those funding. Then we took a look at the breakdown of how much each person that had an ancestor that was a slave, whether it be a purchased slave or indentured slave, because even indentured slaves that ended up on the shores of the Americas were ultimately the contracts were breached. Okay, they were made to continue to work and then to work for nothing. The initial agreement was they were bartering. They people from my dad's sector of the world, the Caribbeans, the West Indies. where they came as merchants and they wanted to come to the new land, and they formed agreements with the captains where we would come, and in return we would do some of the work, okay, in return for the trip over. But those agreements were breached, okay. Some of them ended up being caught up in slavery, in free labor, and it
Yeah.
went and it became endlessness. I mean, just endless over a couple of hundred of years. Okay, so I'm glad to see that pass in the House. But let's take a closer look at what states in the United States of America is really serious about the distribution and the form of distribution. And I think we need to start from there. Well,
We'll
I'm
take a look
happy
at
to
that. What
see. I'm,
I'd like to
I'm,
correct you on something, Zelinka. I'd like to
mm-hmm,
correct you. It's a bill that has been posted for a commission to study the possibility of
right.
reparation. It has not been posted yet for up and down vote. So in
Okay.
the in the House, because if it did, I mean we'll be doing celebration all over the streets.
Right.
But it had not yet
Well,
passed
I'm
Congress or
actually,
Senate.
yeah, I'm actually um really hearing like people like Congresswoman Eleanor Norton that's
Yeah,
talking about how close in DC, that's talking about how close
yeah,
they are coming. I would hope that our Congress may jump on board those that are not listed. I will say that after a year of a task force being convened um, in California, um, Governor Newsom, he signed the first historical order to study the possibility. So
yeah.
California was the first to actually launch that study.
Yes,
Now
it did.
that Yeah, now that the bill has been signed into law in California, the first state government to approve the formal look into reparations, they have formed a committee, and it's in the Assemblywoman Shirley Weber of San Diego, and I used to live in San Diego. She authorized the AB 3121 bill, and they're doing what we're doing right now, talking about it to address even the justice and the fairness in the country in terms of what's going on right now in
That's
America
correct.
when it
That's
even comes
correct.
to the impact of slavery
That's
and the
correct.
mark that it's left. And it
That's
really
correct.
has left a mark. It's left a mark on our school systems. It's left a mark on
On a
our
lot of
economic
a lot,
situation.
absolutely, absolutely. My sister, I like to bring in Eartha. Eartha, you and I ain't never met, but we've met in spirit. And I hear that you are really one who likes to express some serious views. And my brother will be right there with you, sir. Um, but let me go to a commercial for a second. Anybody who is watching the show, there's going to be a little long, small link. And if you have anything that you would like to add to this conversation, simply go to that link, open it up, and type in your questions, and we will get it. Also, when you get a chance, this is critical. We're trying to reach at least 10 to 20,000 viewers on this Let's Talk About It show. So when you see that thing that says subscribe and ring the bell, ding ding, go ahead, subscribe. A lot of people are subscribing, but we need a lot of subscriptions and a lot of bell ringing. The one thing about those bells, once you ring it, you can't unring it. That's an old saying for all you young folks like Tiger. Once you ring that bell, you can't unring it. So my sister, Eartha Harris, organizer. Now you gonna tell me that you really organized? You were part of the organizers. Um, yeah, if you have a response, please leave a message. So and just enter that. That's what that said. That you were really one of the organizers for the Million Man March. I was there. I was there. Yes, indeed. I, me, and about two other. police officers and a brother who recently lost his life to cancer. We went in the same car. I was one of those people in the front. And I don't remember, I don't know if you remember, there was a time that the pressure of humanity was, it seems like everybody wanted to be on the stage, on the front, on the stage. And when they were pressing and pushing, I'm one of those people that the speaker says, please move back. You're pressing up against some people in the front. I was one of those people being put, I was being squashed. Come on in. Eartha, love that name. Talk to me. Let's talk about it.
Okay,
Reparation.
so let me give you a little history. My name is Eartha Harris. I'm here in Baltimore. I got involved with the Million Man March through Ben Chavis, who was president of the NAACP. He had an organization called NAILS. NAILS was an organization that went around to different countries and formulated various committees and leaderships. And out of that came the Million Man March because Minister Farrakhan was invited to one of those forums. And he
Mm-hmm.
came and he told us about his vision. So with that, when Ben Chavis was kicked out of the NAACP, him and Minister Farrakhan hooked up. One of the things that they did was decide to go with that vision that Minister Farrakhan had. Here in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, we had Reverend um, John Wright. He was
Yes.
president of the National Convention, and he pulled together the local organizing committee here in Baltimore. And we
Yes.
actually still exist today. We celebrate the Million Man March every year, October the 16th. We do a sunrise prayer at Drew Hill Park. We do a reflection breakfast at the Art Social Club, and then we have an all men meetup. We've been doing that for 26 years. And
Awesome.
also, out of the Million Man March came Millions for Reparations, which was again another event that Minister Farrakhan did. And that leadership, I was under the gentleman named Ken Bridges, who got shot by the sniper, so-called shot by the sniper. One of
Yeah.
the things that I was going to say with the struggle of reparations is because reparations is in two parts. It's internal reparations and external reparations. And why
Awesome.
reparations is taking so long is the internal reparations of repairing, right? Because reparation means to repair. We have never actually repaired ourselves, the people who were enslaved and the our people who came after that. So you can have all the bills you want to until we as a people can repair ourselves from the internal damage that was done to us. That's why it's taking so long because you got a group of people who is actually waiting on a bill to get
Mm-hmm.
repaid. So
Mm-hmm.
the reason why we need to first internally, like you said, join shows like you, we need to organize, we need to mobilize ourselves. So internally, we can understand what it would take to repair the damage that's been done to us since we were enslaved so many years. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the fight right there. But moving forward, when we're talking about this bill, which, like you said, been there forever, and the reason why they say they want to study it is because they don't want to take the information of many people who have already studied why
Yeah.
we need reparations, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're always putting their self. That's why we got to have internal reparations. They want to put themselves in control. No, we have plenty of scholars, plenty of Black scholars who have studied why and how we should get reparations. And what we should do is make sure that that information is getting to decision makers so they can understand that they can never, ever really undo what was done. And the type of repair that is needed has to come from us because all of it will not be a monetary thing. But
Right.
let's take that one issue that everybody stays on monetarily. If we don't raise our level of consciousness and redirect our dollars, we'll never get that external reparations because
Hmm.
they know that our minds are not conscious enough to understand the economics of reparations. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
possibly give people money who will give it back to you, or we'll end up in the same situation that we are now.
Right.
So once
So
we
the
understand,
money doesn't stay internally.
it doesn't
Somehow
stay.
Right. Right.
it finds its way out.
And the only reason it finds its way out is because we haven't organized a foundation and a platform in which that money will stay among us, right?
Yeah,
So
yes.
what we have to do is we have to, again, just like you met me and I met you, and like I said, I know Davis, we have to stay together. So as each of us build our solutions, we're connecting ourselves together. So when those solutions are available, we'll float it through us. So whatever comes out of
Right.
this, that money will come to us, whatever will come to us, but we'll put it in our own platforms so we can see the benefit of operation. So again,
Awesome.
we're
Oh,
still on it. We're still on it. You know, also they in Baltimore, they actually are passing what they call a black agenda, which to me
mhm.
is a good thing because we always talked about minorities. We have to be Pacific. We're not talking about minority. We're talking about black folks. So we got to get
Right.
the language right. Also, when we're trying to express to our people what it is and what we're trying to do. We're not talking about all these other races of people. We need a bill that specifically addresses black folks that we are participating in and that we're crafting. So when we go out and do the work, we know again how to apply this.
Are you trying
So
to say that the language of reparation is not yet as clear as it should be?
Right.
no, because you're just saying the word, you're saying reparations. In reparation means repair, right? So if you
That's what my
really try to
grandson
say,
said.
right, so you really try to repair something, you have to have someone that knows how to repair. So you're looking at a group of people, elected officials, how they going to repair us? How they going to repair Africans who was enslaved? They cannot repair us. So that's why it's taking so long because we insist on trying to convince them to do something they cannot do. They cannot repair us. Okay. So that's why I said, but now if you're talking about um, external reparations, they the ones who are part of what caused the damage, right?
Right.
You're benefiting from slavery, you benefited from all of this stuff that you have done to us. So that's why we're going to sit around and decide. And I, like I said, if we pick one thing, the economic, we're going to decide how much money you're going to give us, how much land you're going to give us, how much whatever you're going to give us, and then we also going to decide what we're going to do with it. And that's when you're going to see the results that you're looking for. Other than that,
Right.
they will keep spinning that thing up there and saying stupid stuff like they're studying it. It's nothing to study. It's already
Nothing to
studied.
study.
It's plenty of books out there, plenty of scholars like you and the rest of these guys that still living, breathing, ticking. So it's nothing to study. So don't keep saying you're studying. That in my mind, we should knock that down right now. It's nothing to
Right.
My
study.
my 12-year-old grandson, I asked him, "Have you ever heard the term reparation?" He said to me, the first thing he said was, "I'll get back to you, Pop." I said,
Mm.
these kids, I'll get back to you. Nowadays you don't get your answer right away. So he said to me, "I'll get back to you." Then he came back to me about 5 minutes later. He says, "Papa, reparation means repairing something."
Right.
That's his answer.
That's the
So
thing.
and I said to him, "Do you know what it is that needs to be repaired in reference to reparation?" He said, "That Papa, everything, a lot of things need to be repaired." So I'm not sure which one that reparation is making that reference to. It's a 12-year-old kid. I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Okay, grandson, I think I got what you mean. I'll take it and run." Now, this my brother, Clarence Tiger Davis, a scholar, a mastermind in a lot of things. My brother, you've heard these ladies give us a synopsis of what they think that reparation means. And I think that we have a lot of room to talk about how is it going to be given. I did sometimes, I take a little mic with me and I ask somebody, "Have you ever heard of reparation?" And I just put it right up in their face. Where's my mic? By the way, have you ever heard of reparation? What do you think about it? I guess different kinds of answers. But some of them says, "Well, if it's going to happen, give me my land. If it's going to happen, give me money. If it's going to happen," uh, who was the other one? Oh, one white guy said to me, "Why should I give you something? I didn't do anything wrong with to you." And of course, my answer was, do you think you're benefiting from it, from what was done to the
Mhm.
African American community? Are you benefiting from it? He said, nah, man, no, 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 Chuck, no, no, no. I said, okay, I know where his mind is going. Tiger,
Yes,
reparation
sir.
is hot. It's hot on the table. Talk
Well,
to me, my brother.
it's been hot with me for more than 60 years. Okay, so
Right.
you know, I mean, once I graduated from high school back in 1960, and started traveling abroad, reparations became a very heavy issue with me, especially after paying attention to what happened with the Holocaust victims, and then what happened with the Japanese,
Right,
and other groups across, this universe have received reparations. Now, another definition for reparations, which is basically the same as what my sisters have mentioned, is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying
right.
money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. Now,
Hmm.
uh, over the years, clearly, slavery benefited, the Europeans or the master race or whatever. All right. And, there's no question about that. I tend to focus from 1865 forward.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have no arguments with those who go back to the period of slavery and say that there should be reparations for that period. I understand that and I can agree with that. But I think a realistic approach would be to begin from the end of slavery, 1865 forward, because once we were, quote, liberated, if there was such a thing, all right, once that happened, what happened to us after that? We began to move west to build towns. We even had to fight our way, to get out of the South,
Correct.
because even in a town like St. Louis, the gateway to the west, the mayor of St. Louis put a back on black people coming through his town because those racist paramilitary groups wanted to keep African people, enslaved on the plantations in the South. Now, some people will call that the Exodus movement.
Right.
Okay. Now,
Right.
we see all of these things happening after slavery. We see people going west, building areas like Tulsa, which we all know about now, but there were many other small towns that African people built only to have the racist whites in association with the government burn down and destroy our community. We talk about we talk about Black Wall Street, but let me tell you
That was
something.
before
We
Wall
need
Street.
to look at 2019. Look
Right.
at not 2019, but 1919, which is
Right.
referred to as the Red Summer. And the reason it's referred to as the Red Summer is because blood flowed. In
Yes.
Arkansas, Elaine,
Yes.
Arkansas, black soldiers had come home and they started organizing their people
Yes.
who were sharecroppers to get a better deal. What happened?
Uh-huh.
About 200 of them were massacred and their communities
Mm.
destroyed. This was
Yes.
1919, but look, there was more than 35 such incidences throughout this country in 1919. The black
Yes.
community, which had built up from slavery, and they were
Yes.
moving forward, had their towns or their community destroyed, just like Tulsa. One of our problems is that we don't know our own history,
Right.
and what we need to do is to get into our history a little better so that we can understand those forces that have acted upon us, and then we can make better arguments and present our case to our own people. Because clearly, everyone who saw Black Wall Street understood clearly that black people were and have always been superior to white people. I was
Oh.
nearly 35 years old before I understood that white people were just as good as black people. Because we were
Uh-huh.
taught growing up that, hey, boy, you got to be twice as good. Now, what does that mean when you got to be twice as good? That means that the
Twice is
capacity
better.
there for you to be twice as good, which means you're better than them. So
Right.
It was a big time awakening for me when I realized that white people were just as intelligent or as good as black people. Because look at what happened. I grew up in a segregated environment, right? Segregated. But the one thing about that is that we had the best daggone teachers in the world because they couldn't get jobs at the UN or anywhere else, right? So they had to come and teach us. So consequently, I had Dr. Ford teaching me Latin. Dr. Ford was fluent in Hebrew and Greek, but we used to go to him for the pre-calculus stuff, right? I had
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Thelma Banks Cox, and some of you young people know her because she was a regional superintendent by the time you all grew up. She was my English teacher. She made me proud to be black, right? This sister from
Right.
down in Cambridge who came to Morgan and then ended up staying in Baltimore. My math teachers, Judge Russell's sister, Helen Qualls, taught algebra in the ninth grade. Then I had the Joel Carrington, and then Dr.
Right.
Russell. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about Baltimore public school system, the black school system, Dr. Russell used to go over to Garden Space Center. Now, you all have seen this thing, Hidden Figures with the black women, right?
Right.
But Dr. Russell was going over there doing them calculations, and then he would come back and talk to us about it. Okay, this is 1958, 59, 60. He would talk to us about it. Okay, then we're moving further on. My physics teacher was Dr. Brown. Okay, now perhaps the weakest teacher I had in terms of credentials was Yolanda Williams, but then she was W.B. Du Bois's daughter. Got W.B. Du Bois's daughter. So these were the people who taught us and who nurtured us. Okay, because I've never had any illusions about any of this foolishness. Okay, because when I was a young kid in Georgia, 1942, 43, 44, the people who took care of me had been born slaves. So my
Mm.
generation was the last generation that direct relationships to slaves. So they taught us and nurtured us and developed us to be strong early on. Okay, now what happened to us? What happened to black people? Because see, look, every time we engaged them, whether it was in athletics or whatever, high school, we integrated the leagues and football. All right, what happened? The first thing we play is Polly, but we got Reginald Francis Lewis, you know the man, right? He's quarterback. I'm the
Right.
center. Judge Bell was like a water boy. He couldn't play no football. He was just when you look at that football team that I played on, Jakey
Right.
Benjamin ended up he was a wide receiver. Jakey Benjamin flew choppers on 3 tours in Vietnam, right? He ended up retired colonel, but he was in charge of aviation for General Electric's West Coast Division. One of the other athletes, Jim Northey. You've heard of Ultra Bright toothpaste, right? His patent.
Right.
You know, Jim Northey out of Dunbar High School. See, one of the things we don't know how great we have always been because we spend so much time focused on slavery and what happened to us then. We forget about the greatness of who we are. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I have never look. Let me tell you something. Jim North. Then we had Bobby Young, medical doctor. Billy Tinkler, a graduates from Morgan as a freshman at Morgan. He was all conference as a freshman. Drafted the New York Giants. So what did he do? When he was drafted by the New York Giants, he had a scholarship also to go get a master's degree in education. So what did he do? He went to get the master's degree in education. And then 2 years later, he came out. The New Orleans Saints lured him down there to New Orleans because we were programmed that education is the fruit of life. And that
Yeah.
education, somewhere along the line, the values that we once had that led to
Right.
the revolution in 1959, 1960, some of those values were destroyed once we began integrating because we then end up with a diffused culture where our kids don't know which way to go or what. We never had that problem when we grew up because we understood clearly the difference between black and white in America. Most of us, we never were really supporters of integration. We didn't like, we did not like segregation. but we never believed that being with white folks was going to benefit us because we've always viewed ourselves as being superior to whites. And look, mathematics, that's why almost everybody on my football team majored in math, because math was something that was easy. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, after integration, math becomes hard. What are you talking about?
Brother
Math is the
Davis,
easiest thing.
Brother
Yeah, let me
Davis,
hold up.
you know that no, it's okay, it's okay. One of the subject matters that we will be talking about and need to talk about is the continuous suppression of Black history in the school systems in many states of in this country. That is a lot of. I think it's about 14 states now that are now legislatively and signed into law by the governor that the history of slavery and black history must not be taught in public schools in those states. And if they do that, their funding will be withdrawn. And that's a subject matter that we're going to be talking about a lot more as this program continues because it's it's something that you mentioned and you talked about it for quite some time. But before we
That's
let
why
me
you
just
have to break it down. That's why you have to break it down in those two categories. So what he's talking about, I told you, is internal reparations.
turn on. Yeah,
Right.
you
Internally, we went after the money, but we did not go after the mindset. The mindset internally has to be taught its history. The mindset has to make sure that we understand if we're going to get educated, what good is education if you're not solving the problems of your people? So internally, we
right,
kept
right.
thinking that we wanted to buy the houses, we wanted to make good salaries, we wanted to do all of this sort of stuff because they knew that we weren't really understanding what reparations mean. So internally,
Right.
we have more people than ever that has a lot of money, especially black folks. We got millionaires, billionaires, or whatever. So the internal damage that's done to black folks, they're not seeing it. And we have to make ourselves understanding that our minds are messed up because what a bunch of people do that's educated and got money and still in the same condition or in worse condition, and a lot of people know their history because just like he said, we went to school. So it's not that we don't know that we was enslaved,
Right.
know about Jim Crow and all of these. We know all of that stuff, right? You
Hmm.
ask your 12-year-old son about reparation. Ask your 12-year-old son about the Million Man March. These young people don't even know current history. They don't know a million men showed up to show internal reparations because the picture of the black man was so devastated in this country that people thought that all black men were incarcerated, standing on corners,
Right.
be farmers, right? So internally, we don't even have good sense to understand that that's not really what we are, or that's not how our black men are. But we're perceived as that, and then what happens is that we as a people, we don't internally take responsibility. In the city of Baltimore, you should not have boarded up houses, uneducated kids, and broke. If you have a group of people that's supposed to be intelligent, that's supposed to be educated, we have people that's in political positions, we have all of these people, but because we're not healed mentally, we're still in a city that gets up every day and act like we got to fight like hell to just get some basic things like good homes, good education.
Stores in the neighborhood,
So,
So,
you
just
know,
even have the right stores.
right.
I want to jump in. Really great conversation. But I think the key to
Oh,
everything that's been said this morning.
let you continue. Go ahead, because I wanted you to continue. But Bertha, I want to really come back to you on that internal and external reparation. That is a clear distinction, and we need to make that. We need to
Right.
talk more about that internal and external. We need to clearly define the two. Zelinka, my apology. Go right ahead, my beautiful
Thank you
sister.
so much. So that's what I wanted to actually, after listening to all three of you, especially Miss Eartha. I love your work. You know my work. The Buffalo Man. I love you. I love you because you are a encyclopedia of Black history, especially education and the creative side and even the athletic side. You know, back then we were developed and well-rounded. Well-rounded. If you look at even the way our school systems was developed, there were after-school programs right in the school. You know, we were cognitive about using our creative side of our brain as well as our intellect. You know, I was a
Hmm.
violinist for 11 years, you know, all the way through school, but I was really good when it came to math and English. So that's something that parents got away from. You know, I just saw a question that Giovanni Patterson asked while the discussion was going on
Right.
is what was different between the family back then in the 60s and in the 50s and what we have right now when we talk about family unity. And that's an issue. And I think that if we started with family in each household, even if we're talking about single fathers, single mothers, we need to be that village again where we support even our babies having babies. You know, if they made that
Mhm.
mistake and they've had a child out of wedlock, we need to be there to support them. They may come from a broken home already. And so now they're bringing another child into life, this thing called life. And guess what? Sometimes they get left behind because people get so angry because of the mistake instead of looking at, well, look, they belong to us. We're going to help raise this baby in our community. And so I think Earth is right. There's some inner healing that has to take place, and no white man can do that for us. That's something that we as Black people must come together, and we need to
And do
begin
for
to heal.
ourselves.
We need to begin right. We need to begin to heal by us coming together as if we were still segregated, and this is a big village of us Black people that will support one another. We can do all things. We can, I'm looking at Baltimore City, the event that was held at the historical Art Social Club this past Saturday. That's just imagine if we go throughout Baltimore City and we recognize the work of one another and we and
Hmm.
we supported each other's
Yeah.
family. Do you understand how powerful that will be? Because not only do we get to help one another heal, but we also get to support one another's business, one another's efforts on the
Hmm.
grounds of Baltimore City, where we
That's
can
good.
even weed out local government. Because why? Because we are the government. We are
We
governing
are our own
ourselves
government. We are our
together,
own government. Yeah. You
together.
But
know,
I want to show you guys how it's tricky though. When you talked about having babies, but then they were the ones who developed Planned Parenthood. See, we'll say stuff,
Mhm.
but then we're not the one building the answer. Okay, so it's
Thank
not
you.
that young people don't get help. It's not like pregnant women don't get help. It's not like people don't go, get this education. Like you said, they got education, right? But the problem is the mindsets that we have. We go after this, but we don't control it. The two things people know that you have to do to be successful in this world, you got to control it, you got to own it, and you got to pass it on to your children. So if you look at the
Right.
things that we're arguing about and we're going after, do we control these reparations that's going to be given to us? Do
I
we
will ask
own
you
these
that question
reparations?
very soon because
And
that's
can
a
we,
question that
right.
you will be answering. You
But
know,
what I'm saying,
what
the answer
form?
is already there. The answer
Uh,
is already there. It's going to be
okay.
no, 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 no.
All right.
No, we don't control it.
Well, we
No,
have
we
to
don't
change.
own
We
it.
have to change that
Now we got to
answer.
change
We
it.
have to
Yeah, we
change
got to
that
change
answer and begin to organize so we can put in place an entity where we control it. Where we
All right.
control
Now
it.
I'm gonna
We're
ask
going to be
Tiger Wood.
yeah.
Tiger. I called you Tiger Wood. Ain't that a blip? He got the money. You got the wood.
Right.
Uh, Brother Davis, uh, we got 10 minutes for the show. And we got so
Yeah.
many areas of questions. Before we even go to before I go back to Brother Davis, I want people to please subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Distribute this debate, this talk to as many people as you can, and ask them all to subscribe. Uh, Tiger Davis, if reparation did become a reality, what form of payment, other than direct cash, would qualify as reparation? What form of payment? And I know you want to jump into what the ladies have been talking about, but I want to redirect
All
you.
right. Okay.
What,
I'll be redirected.
what form of payment do you think?
Well,
And we're going to get back to Zelenka about this because Zelenka is all into the economic aspect of it. So she has to really give us some sense of, my dear sister, my dear brothers, this money is coming.
look,
How do you want it? Go ahead, Tiger Wood. Tiger,
look.
brother, Tiger
We
Davis.
we have to invest in. If we get the money, so I don't think it should go to any individual. Okay,
Yes.
I think the money, any kind of reparations we get, must go into building or rebuilding our institutions. Like our banking system. How can you have
Right.
economic development when you don't have access to capital? Okay, now the thing needs to go there. Then the other thing is the educational institutions that are historically black colleges and universities. The money
Right.
goes there. Then there has to be some money in redeveloping our communities. And maybe the money is going to be
Right.
controlled by the banking institution or what have you. But we have to redevelop our community and our kids. Anyone who has went out there in our community and worked with our kids know that we are producing what I call the mass execution of our society because we're not paying attention to those kids and what's happening with those kids. You can go into some neighborhoods or communities in this city, and more than half the kids' parents are either in jail or on drugs. Okay, and that is something that he dealt with. Grandparents and great grandparents are trying to raise these kids, and they're breaking down from stress. I took our vets into a couple schools in the inner city to work with those kids, 5 to 9 years old. Those kids can't even sit still, man. They've already been destroyed. We've got to look at what has been happening in our community since integration came about, because
Right.
integration kind of like destroyed our people, man. I'm telling you,
Right.
we were all right when we were black people, but now we're no longer black people. We are products of what integration has molded us into. And
So
and,
the
and
integration really destroyed us. It destroyed our family.
yeah, we have become the destroyers of our own community, our own society. When we had black institutions, we had everything they had. If they had
Yeah.
banks, we had banks. If they had shopping centers,
We
we
sure
had
did.
shopping centers. We took care
Yeah.
of ourselves. But
Drugstores
then all of
and
a sudden,
anything else.
once
Yep.
we integrate, they control us physically and mentally. And what we have to do is to
Yes.
gain our minds. Okay,
Yes.
that's what we have to
Yes.
do. And nothing works if we don't do that.
Yes. You're
I
And
absolutely
I
agree.
think
right. We'll
too.
Eartha, I like that name. Eartha. How you
Yes.
doing, sister?
Fine. We do have banks, we do have markets, we have plenty of stores. We got to train our minds because what also went down is we say things that we don't uphold. We've been talking dying black as long as we've been talking reparations, and you can
Quick
go
question to
everywhere.
you, Eartha. Is there a black bank in Maryland at all? A
Yes,
bank
yes,
Harbor
owned
Bank
and
is
operated by black people? I
Harbor
know in
Bank is
New
one of the
Jersey they
closest
have
ones
one.
you're going to get to there. Well, I'm
oh
saying Harbor Bank
no.
and you got Industrial Bank in DC, but the problem is not so much if we did build the institutions like you said, right? If you don't go support that institution, this is what they're doing. They're going to give us the banks, the markets, and everything, and then our minds are going to say, "Oh, I want to go to Mom's. I want to go to Whole Foods. I want to go here," because we also need to create a system that we hold people accountable. We got a card that's called an IBA card because I want to see are you really buying black? Are you going to black places as we build them and redirect your money into those black places? Because if you don't, when we build them, they're not going to sustain themselves. If you go get a house and you don't pay your land or whatever, they're going to take it from you. So we have to give education because they can give us all the land they want to. They tax you to death. And before you know it, people that lost their land because they already know the tricks that they can place on us as a people. They'll give you stuff just like they just pulled out trillions of dollars out their butt for COVID. So we know they got the money and they got the resources, but what they know that we don't have is the mindset and the willingness to say it is no more this little petty stuff that we're going to beg and ask you for reparations. We're going to find the solutions. If it's a vote, then you get the elected person in the seat that's going to vote for that reparation bill. So you pay attention of how to play a game. So the game is not for us to keep watching and see whether they're going to study reparations. The game is to elect the person that's going to sit in that seat. And when that bill comes across, they're going to say, yes, we elect everybody out of a seat that is not on board with the agenda. And we do not do that. We keep going begging people and pleading with people and trying to convince somebody to do something that we know
that's not working.
but not working. But what will work, if it's a person that's elected that's making a decision, this is a no-brainer. Get them out of the seat. Just vote them out.
Yeah, that's it.
Put your person in. When that bill comes, you can move on to the next thing. We'll be fighting this thing for another 100 years.
So, in other words,
You know,
you
the
can
beauty,
minimize.
I want
You can
to
minimize
say
the
one
agenda.
last thing, and then I gotta go. The
Go-
beauty of
Don't go yet.
God's creation is that things can be put in a very simplistic fashion. So right now, I'm doing what Earth is doing. We need to all come together with this. Z-Bay Development Group is totally focused on educating our Black community here in Baltimore City about building their businesses stronger, where they can become employers, where they can employ people in their own communities, where we can keep that dollar in our communities. We are not only looking at business development and developing the right mindset in terms of how you organize and structure your business and how you can make sure that that business is growing substantially to the point where you become an employer. But not only that, then the doors open up to you where you can plug into all financial possibilities to keep that business, where you turn that business into a legacy for not just your family, but your community. The second thing that Z-Bay Development Group is looking at is the boarded and vacant properties here in Baltimore City. And we're going to we're already started the first time ever taking people from rent to ownership. And we're doing that in a very strategic manner. We're using all the resources. We're educating them, getting them certified so that they can get those grants as well as those closing costs. And we're going to make sure that they are able to maintain it. Why? Because we're doing this through a very creative process. So it's all about education and bringing all of us together. July the 1st will be the ribbon cutting to the Z-Bay Development's office at Pratt Avenue, and Pratt Street, 759. We're sharing office spaces with Pastor Shannon Wright and the urban community. We're opening another space over at number 4 South Central on July the 2nd. So there'll be 2 ribbon cuttings, and we need to educate. So that is my total focus. That will be Zeron's total focus, is to bring businesses and community together throughout Baltimore City.
You talking war. You talking war. This sounds like war to me.
No,
Here's
war. My program is that we go outside.
Tiger, are they talking about really starting a war?
Absolutely.
I keep hearing Zelenka saying what we are going to do. We need to define who that we are. So now you tell me, Tiger, I can't believe this, Dr. David. Is this war? Are they talking about we need to go to war?
Listen, politics, and I always told my students, politics is organized civilized warfare. Now, until we begin to understand that is the real what's happening in politics, we're going to be lost. For instance,
Uh-huh.
when we give up control of the Baltimore City school system, that means who will we buy the computers from? Who will we buy the paper from?
Absolutely.
Hey, just having the contract to provide toilet paper for the public school system will create wealth and jobs. But see, what happens is we might control the city politically in terms of being visible, but under that, who provides the insurance for the Baltimore City employees? This is what we're talking about. And
And we already doing that, my Buffalo friend, through Kemper.
I'm going to ask
Most of the
everybody.
city employees is
now,
Kemper.
look,
I'm gonna ask
these are
everybody.
things that we should control right now because we're supposed to be able to
I
control
knew
the
you was gonna
politics of the
take me
city.
out.
And who gets those
Don't
contracts
don't
should
give
come
up
from
on
us.
us. Don't give up. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's why this show is continuously called Let's Talk
Formulate
About It. We're pretty
the
much
system.
coming to a close for this session. But please, can I get you guys back again next Thursday? Let's continue this subject because it's not something that can end. It has to be ongoing. And as Elton said, we need to continue this. We need to continue talking about it and make sure that we get something concrete and get something done right. I guess in my own words, Elton, that's how I twisted it around. You didn't exactly say it that way, but that's what I'm hearing. We got to get more hands on our community. And to do that, everybody has to come to the table and we have to be able to discuss, talk about it, and find a way to get resolution because we can't continue living in this condition at all. Whether you call it reparation, external or internal, but we need to clearly define exactly which direction we're going to be going, how we're going to be going it, and who the
Hey,
we are.
he's got to
Because we
stop
keep
doing
putting
that
CP,
because that's very
uh,
wrong.
we keep putting people in the office and they keep on doing the wrong thing for us. At some point,
Yeah, that's
somebody's got to
very
say, "This is war. We got to stop." This is the chief. Let's talk about it. Let's continue to talk about it. Don't give up. Let's keep on going. God bless all of you, and we will see you next Thursday by the grace of God. Eartha Harris, that's my grandmother's last name, by the way. I wonder if you're related. Come back, my brother Davis. You know I love you. Come back. Let's talk about it. This is Chief O. God bless everybody. Thank you all so much for coming.
All right.